Welcome to Fernando's Rant of the Day. Thanks for joining me tonight. I want to recap a little bit about what I was discussing yesterday, and that is when there's a major contraction in the economy and a major downsizing in the economy and in your industry or in your company, only the top producers, people who know how to peak perform, are going to be okay. Everyone else has to either move down, step aside, get out of the way, or go back and retrain themselves so they can be more valuable to the marketplace, right? That's kind of what we were discussing yesterday. Now, I want to give you guys a tool. This tool is going to be pivotal. So if there's a million things that you can do to make yourself valuable to your industry, to your company, to be a peak performer, this is the one thing you want to focus on, because you need to learn this skill if you're going to be great or even good at and bring value to your industry, to the people around you. Now, this skill has been around since the beginning of time. This skill has been around since humans have been communicating. Ever since humanity and human beings have had recorded communication, recorded history, this skill has been valuable, has been probably the most valuable skill that human beings can do. And the skill is the ability to sell, to influence, and to persuade. To sell, to influence, and to persuade. This is the most valuable skill that you could ever develop to make yourself valuable, to make yourself a peak performer in every aspect of your life. This cuts, selling, persuasion, and influence cuts into every aspect of human interaction. Every aspect that you can think of, it's there, right? So this is the most valuable skill. I want to leave you with this because this is going to be the one thing that's going to keep you from falling behind, or to keep you from being affected by the next major contraction that's on its way in your industry, in the marketplace. This will make you invaluable to your company, to your everything you're doing in life. Okay? So now the question is, really, can you prove that? I'm going to prove it. Usually I would explain why, but in this case, I want to explain the how first. I'm going to explain how this works. What is influence, selling, and persuasion? And once you understand how it works and what it is, the why becomes very clear. Okay? So I'm going to share with you basically three things. Okay? So the first thing is the three forms of communication. So anytime a human being is communicating, he or she is either communicating to connect with you, to want to get close to you, right? That's one way that we communicate. One reason for us to communicate is to just connect with the next person, to get close to them, to be able to empathize with them and to create a feeling of commonality between that person, right? So you're either communicating, or someone is communicating with you to connect with you. The other way to communicate is to inform you, right? When most people are speaking, they're either trying to connect with you, trying to get close to you, trying to get to know you, trying to build something in common with you, or they're trying to inform you of something, right? So those are the two. Now here's the third. Whenever somebody is speaking, whenever words are coming out of somebody's freaking mouth, they are either trying to connect with you, they're trying to inform you of something, or they're trying to influence, they're trying to persuade you or sell you something. An idea, a concept, a product. 9 times out of 10, it's an idea. And it's so subtle, you don't even notice it. People are trying to persuade you and influence you every single day, and you are trying to sell, influence, and persuade every single day. Whenever you open your mouth, you're probably trying to persuade somebody of something. Think about it. Think about all of your communication today. You were either trying to connect with someone, you were trying to inform someone, or you were trying to persuade and influence someone. Now, why do we focus so much on the first two and ignore the third? Because a lot of people, they have a disdain for this thing called selling, influence, and persuasion. Some people think that this is a dirty word. Like in the United States, it's become a dirty word because a lot of very unethical people have used this ability to sell, influence, and persuade to do evil. The art and science of selling, persuasion, and influence is not evil. The question is, whose hand is it in? Whose hand is it in? Right? Like a very sharp knife in the hand of an axe killer, of a serial killer, is going to be very dangerous. But in the hands of a trained neurosurgeon, a very sharp blade will save your life. It's not the art that's dirty. It's not the art that's evil. It's whose hand is it in? This ability to sell, persuade, and influence will completely change the dynamic of your life, will change the dynamic of you, how you interact in your business life, in your work, whatever you do for work. If you're a teacher, you need to be able to sell, persuade, and influence your students. If you're a teacher, you need to learn how to sell, persuade, and influence. If you're just a stay-at-home mom, you need to sell, persuade, and influence your household to do, the value of education. Let's say you value education, but your kids are kind of on the fence. They kind of want to cut school and just hang out with their friends. Your ability to sell, influence, and persuade is crucial to getting them to do what you know that they should do, right? If you're a police officer, you need to be able to sell, persuade, and influence, the criminal, to put his hands behind his back without using lethal force, right? Everything, your friends, your family, this cuts into every aspect of communication: sell, influence, and persuade. Okay, so I'm going to explain to keep it short, there's so much I could talk about the art of influence and the science of influencing, persuading, and selling. I'm just going to talk about two parts of this art form, okay? And before I do, so Warren Buffett, the billionaire Warren Buffett, was quoted in saying that the only degree he showcases on his wall in his office is from the Dale Carnegie course. The Dale Carnegie course is a sales, influence, and persuasion program that he went through. That's the only degree that he puts up in his office. Why? Because it's that valuable. The ability to sell, influence, and persuade is the most valuable skill. If you're an entrepreneur, I hate hearing entrepreneurs say, oh yeah, I'm just not into selling. I'm not into sales and marketing. I'm not into that. Yes, you better be. You better learn how to sell, influence, and persuade if you think you're going to be an entrepreneur. Okay, what is selling? What is influence, selling, and persuasion? It's the ability to take your concept that you have in your head and get somebody else to see it clearly as you see it, and get them to buy into it. That's sales, influence, and persuasion. The ability to take my vision, the way I see the world, the way I view reality in a particular area, or just reality in general, and then to be able to communicate that to another human being persuasively so that they can see it the way I see it, and then that they get the buy-in, and that you can actually close them on that idea. Why? Because you think it's so valuable. This is sales, influence, and persuasion. Most people don't realize what it is. They just think it's a manipulation tactic. It's not. Every powerful figure in human history was a master persuader. Abraham Lincoln, master persuader. Let's see, anyone you could think of. Steve Jobs, master persuader and marketer. Okay, Martin Luther King Jr., master persuader. Malcolm X, master persuader, influencer, salesperson. These people were selling their concepts to millions of people. Okay, so this is how strong it is. Obama, master salesperson. Donald Trump, well, some people love Donald Trump, some people hate him, just like Obama, but he was, in his time, a master persuader. I mean, he got to the presidency because of his ability to sell, persuade his clan to vote for him. Persuasion. Sales, influence, and persuasion. It's been used by evil people, and it's been used by Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a master communicator, a master seller, a master closer. Here's the two skills that you need to know about selling, influence, and persuasion. The first element to this thing is the art of conviction. Conviction. You need to understand conviction at the core, because that's the nucleus of the ability to sell, persuade, and influence. It's this thing called conviction. What the hell is conviction? is your ability to be convinced on your vision. That's where it starts. That's the nucleus. This is where most leaders, quote unquote leaders and managers, fall completely short. If you don't have your own conviction about a particular direction that your company's going in, nobody's going to follow you. The person who has the strongest vision and the strongest conviction, that's what people gravitate to. Why? Because it's that important. Conviction convinces, right? Conviction is what's going to convince your following to follow you. How convinced are you? If you're not convinced to go into the battlefield, I ain't convinced. Right? If you're doubting, then I'm going to doubt. If you're certain, then I'm going to be certain, right? That's how we influence each other, with conviction. How convinced are you? I know leaders that just do whatever the company tells them to do, and they have no convictions of their own. And you can tell in their communication, it just permeates their communication that, well, I'm just doing this because I'm told to, and I love my little position, so I'm just going to go ahead and push this thing. I don't really believe in it. I think I believe in it. I don't know if I believe in it. I don't care because they told me to say it. They told you to say it. Where's your conviction? How convinced are you? Right? Is the guy next door more convinced than you? Is he more convincing? Is he more persuasive? Why? Because he has conviction. Conviction convinces. That's the first thing you got to get. How convinced are you? If you're a minister, the greatest ministers of all time have been great salespeople because they're fully convinced. They're like on fire with their conviction about this thing, their vision, the way they see the world, and the way they see their congregation going. Conviction, right? How convinced are you? Now, the second thing is to know about selling and persuasion is usually a persuasive conversation has a start and a finish, what we call the close, okay? Now, here's what you need to know about selling, persuading, and influence. It has a beginning and it has an end. Now, what happens in between that, from the beginning to the end, certain things need to line up perfectly for that person to be convinced. You have to learn how to do this. It's kind of like cracking a safe. You ever see, those movies where the thief is trying to crack the safe? He's listening so intently, and then he's spinning the little wheel, and then he hears the first click. Cool. But is he done by hearing that first click? No, he has to go to the second click. Now he's turning the wheel the other way, listening for that click, and then you got 2 clicks. Now you spin it the other way. Now those clicks have to line up perfectly for the person you're trying to influence, for them to get it, for them to be bought in to your vision. And there's certain elements, like you have to be able to stay in a place of commonality, of rapport with this person through this process. And there's going to be moments where they pull away. You got to be able to read that and reestablish that, what we call in the industry rapport, commonality with the person, and getting those clicks, listening intently, right? Listening intently to the feedback you get from the person you're trying to influence. See the world as they see it, so that you could have influence on the picture the way they see it. That person needs to know that you see the world the way they see it. And once they know that, if once they know that you see the world as they see it, now they might let you have influence on the way that picture looks. This is how sales influence happens. It's very elegant, but it happens in a very logical way. Like those certain things need to line up from the beginning of the interaction to the end, what we call a close. Certain things, those clicks have to happen in the right sequence, and a lot of people get frustrated. They spin, they're listening, and then they get frustrated. They just want to wrap it up and get right to the close, and the whole thing falls apart. Okay? You need to learn how to sell, influence, and persuade. Get everything you can get your hands on. This will make you super valuable in every interaction. You need to be able to sell, persuade, and influence at the highest levels. Learn everything you can get your hands on, and you'll be completely unstoppable. Because it starts with conviction. How convinced are you of your vision? And then how can I communicate that to others so they can see it and they can buy into it? Think about it. This cuts into everything. Cuts into every form of communication, okay? So I'm going to leave you with that. If you need any kind of help with this, just let me know. Get your hands on whatever books you can get. Everything you can learn about this skill will make you completely immune to whatever contractions happen in your industry, because you'll be so valuable because you have the ability to sell, persuade, and influence the people around you to your vision. Okay, super valuable. Okay, have a great one. I'll talk to you guys soon. Learn how to sell, persuade, and influence. Okay, have a great one. Bye. Be blessed.